Needless to say, there's a lot of stuff going on in the news these days, and I wish I could talk about it all. I wish I could put out a video touching on every subject, but there's simply not enough time in the day to do so. Basically, every day I wake up and I feel like I'm juggling. I'm juggling all of these different news stories. Which one am I going to talk about today? And of course, once I hop on a news story, I want to keep people updated about that story. But don't think that I'm ignoring you or I'm refusing to cover other stories, because I often see people reaching out to me asking me to cover this news story or talk about this topic. And it's not that I'm ignoring you. It's not that I don't want to talk about these topics. It's simply that there is just not enough time in the day. There really isn't. But over the past couple of weeks, I've had quite a few people reaching out to me asking me to talk about some KFC commercial. And look, with everything that I cover on this channel, you have to understand, we're talking about true crime cases, we're talking about murder cases, we're talking about World War III, we're talking about all of these government conspiracies, we're talking about a lot of stuff on this channel. So when I'm in the middle of covering a story about a child getting killed, or I'm in the middle of covering a story about World War III breaking out in Ukraine, you have to understand that when I see people saying, hey, you need to talk about this KFC commercial, I kind of put that on the back burner. Because in my mind, I'm like, look, I like to cover a lot of stuff, but there's more serious stuff going on right now. There's a lot of serious things happening in the world that are more important than a freaking Kentucky Fried Chicken commercial. So I didn't necessarily understand why people were like, hey, you need to talk about this fried chicken commercial. And I'm sitting here literally telling people about World War III, literally telling people about a child that just got killed. And people are like, yeah, but what about the KFC commercial? Well, I just saw the KFC commercial. And let me just say that I fully understand why people were telling me to talk about it now. I fully understand why people were reaching out. I fully understand now. I get it. I didn't get it at first. Because literally I'm like diving into research about these military conflicts happening in our world and how we're strategically moving certain military units and certain equipment to certain places. And this could mean war with Iran, or this could mean war here. These are the things I'm looking into, and I have people telling me, hey, put a pause on all of that and look at the Kentucky Fried Chicken commercial. But now, after seeing the commercial, I fully understand why people thought it was necessary to talk about, or at least interesting to touch on, because this commercial is unlike any other Kentucky Fried Chicken commercial you've ever seen. And if this commercial existed in a pocket by itself, I wouldn't think it was a big deal. I would say, hey, this is kind of quirky and weird. But because I understand the use of various symbols, because I understand the messaging that Hollywood and the powers that be put inside of our entertainment, I understand why people think that there may be more to this commercial than it just being something quirky and weird. But look, before I go any further, often people ask, how can they support the channel? And the answer to that question is very simple. For free. It only takes 1 second out of your day. You could hit that like button, drop a comment below, and become part of the conversation. That helps the channel out more than you know. But if you want to take your support one step further, you could always send a super thanks or send a Cash App. It is always greatly appreciated. But right now, what I want to do is, I want to go ahead and roll this commercial for you all, because I don't want to give you too many of my opinions and too many of my feelings. I want you all to form your own opinions, form your own feelings, and let me know how you feel in the comments as you watch this weird commercial, and then I'll be right back with more thoughts. Now, after seeing this commercial, the number one thing that you need to do is not dive into how weird the commercial is. No. The number one thing that you need to do, that everyone needs to do, is they need to ask themselves one simple question. How does this help sell chicken? Because that's what commercials are for. Commercials are for advertising items. Commercials are to help sell items. Do you think there's anyone on earth that saw this commercial and was like, you know what? I need some fried chicken. I need to go to KFC. No, I doubt it. In fact, watching this commercial made me feel like, hey, I don't want to ever eat fast food again. This commercial makes me feel like, hey, I don't ever want to eat at KFC ever again in my life. That's the reaction I have to this commercial. And I think that most human beings who aren't cannibals would feel the same. And the reason I say that is because there's definitely, a cannibalism aspect to this commercial. And this commercial is very obviously culty, right? It's a cult that does a human sacrifice, basically turns a man to fried chicken, and then they eat him, right? Now, like I said at the beginning of this video, if this commercial existed in a pocket by itself, I would say, hey, this is kind of weird and quirky, interesting, maybe somewhat artistic. I don't see how this helps sell chicken, but okay. Maybe at the very least, you'll get people talking, which the commercial did do that. We can acknowledge that because we're talking about it right now, right? But this commercial does not exist in a pocket by itself. This commercial exists in a world where evil satanic things like what were depicted in this commercial, these things are celebrated. And these subliminal messages are often put in our movies, in our music, in our TV shows. the cartoons, some of the books you read, you name it. The messaging is everywhere. The problem is, back in the day, you used to have to reach to find this messaging. You used to have to be very aware, because they would slip stuff in that people wouldn't even recognize. Like, you've heard of like the let's just call them schlongs that were on the original cover of The Little Mermaid in the background. Like, we know there's subliminal messages put into things, but they used to be hidden, right? You used to have to search to really find them. Now they literally beat you over the head with it. You don't have to dig through this commercial to find the occult symbolism. No, it's right out there in the open. It's actually the theme of the entire commercial. Back in the day, people used to try to play their records backwards to see if there were any messages, hidden messages on the songs. Nowadays, places like KFC, they say, hey, we're not hiding anything. We're going to do a full-on cult human sacrifice cannibalism commercial to promote our chicken. Now, like I said, a lot of people that watch this video, a lot of the people that saw this commercial will see it and they won't think anything of it. They'll think that people like me and people like some of you watching this video are overreacting to this commercial. But this isn't an overreaction. It's not overreacting to acknowledge the symbolism that is being put on full display proudly in front of our faces every day. We know that this world is ran by an elite group of people. People who do things like what we just saw in that commercial. This commercial really reminds me of like the Bohemian Grove. I think the egg says a lot. For one, they're marching it around like it's a religious idol or something along those lines. You know, if you really wanted to, you could dig all into this commercial and decipher all of the messages. But like I said, it's not really necessary because they're not trying to hide it anymore. So in the commercial, you literally see a guy get brought into a cult. They go and they give him almost what could be considered a baptism, a mockery of a baptism. They baptize him in, I guess, gravy, and then he comes out as a piece of chicken that the rest of the cult eats. Now, like I said, if I had no knowledge of the various cults and the various secret societies that are running rampant within our society, then I would think nothing of this. But I know about the Skull and Bones Society. We know about certain stuff that happens in Freemasonry. We know about Illuminati. We know about all of these other various groups. And by the way, most of the groups people talk about aren't even the most powerful groups that are actually running the show. But we know these secret societies exist, and we know that the most powerful, influential people in our world all are a part of these societies. So when you see a mega fast food chain like freaking KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, promoting occultism and putting blasphemous stuff in their commercials, because that's what that was, a mockery of a baptism. They're putting blasphemous stuff, mocking the Christian religion in their commercials. They're talking about cannibalism. They're promoting occultism. And, you know, it's hard to shy away from acknowledging that, especially if you have knowledge about what's going on behind the scenes in the world around us. But KFC took it even one step further. They started putting out merchandise. They're putting out shirts and hats that say human-made original recipe, basically joking that their chicken is actually people. Like, for some reason, someone who works at KFC with their advertising campaigns decided, hey, you know what is a great campaign? What if we put out shirts and hats joking about our chicken actually being people? What if we tell everyone that the entire time you've been eating KFC, you've also been eating people. What if we do that? What if we put out this commercial about cannibalism and then we put out this hat and this shirt? It's freaking ridiculous. It's the stupidest marketing campaign I could ever think of. Like, yeah, you'll get people talking, but you're not going to get people to KFC. I'm not going to go to KFC anytime soon. Maybe never even again. As long as I remember this commercial, you won't find me at KFC. So, I do think it's really questionable why in this day and age, when we're seeing all of this other crazy stuff around us that we can no longer ignore, why are places like KFC deciding, hey, now's a great time to tell everyone that they're eating humans when they eat at KFC? Ha 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 ha! Please come shop with us. We're selling human meat. So, I mean, look, I fully understand now why people wanted me to talk about this, because this is some crazy, weird stuff. I get it now. Now, if you're someone who has watched this commercial and you think that people are overreacting to it, I suggest that you take some time out of your day to do some research, to better understand certain things like predictive programming. Do some research into symbology. Understand how this stuff works. Understand how, certain symbols and things have been used in our media for years. It's crucial that more people start to understand this in order for us to stop whatever the powers that be have planned for us. Because right now, what they have planned for us is basically what you saw in that commercial. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to wind up a piece of fried chicken. Because if I did, I would make a damn good fried chicken. Okay? Some of y'all, you would be a measly little drumstick. I would be a succulent breast, fried to perfection. And I don't want that happening to me. And you guys don't want that happening to me either. So do your part in waking people up to some of the weird and wild and crazy stuff going on around us, because unfortunately we live in a crazy world and the truth is often stranger than fiction. But with that being said, let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and try not to become a piece of fried chicken today.